So I'm going to go ahead and. Okay, good evening. This is February 25th, 2021, 21st, the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The time is now 6 o'clock. Before we get started, I'd like to remind our members of some of the protocols regarding microphones. If you could, please keep your mics muted. This goes for some of our guests who may be on the line tonight. Some of the applicants, please keep your mics muted until speaking. That'll help out. We'll start tonight with the roll call. I'm Edmund Haas, Chairman of the Commission. Vice Chair Portman.
Present.
Commission members, Sue Blankenship. Okay. Cindy Bishop.
Present.
Freddie Guerra.
Here.
Ed Moore.
Present.
And Jim Walker.
Also present.
All righty. Well, Cindy, welcome aboard. Glad that you will be with us for next couple of term, or the next term here, 2 years. So item 2 and 3 on the work session agenda is for staff to review the cases. We're going to put these 2 items together so that Mary can review the cases together. I'll turn over the session to Mary, and if you could, please introduce the city staff members that are present.
Sure. Good evening, commissioners. Welcome to our planning and zoning meeting, and welcome, Cindy, to your first meeting. In terms of staff present, we have Cami McGee, who's our planning and zoning secretary. We have Matt Steer, Development Services Administrator. Myself, Mary Crone Boswell, Senior Planner. And then this evening also joining us will be Mike Garza with our engineering department. And I believe we have Cole Baker also with our engineering department. And that pretty much sums up staff. So moving on to discussion of the items. So there's 4 items this evening. Let's see here. Matt, do you want to do your item 7, the Smoothie King?
Sure. Let me unmute myself. And so the first item is the Smoothie King. If you guys remember back in November, we had a site plan amendment where they came in at this particular location where the Dry Cleaners and Donut City's located. They came in and wanted to extend the southern portion of the building over the fire lane. And since that time, they've had Smoothie King come in and ask them to put a halt on those plans because they wanted to use the drive-through. So that's what the request is basically to revert back to the way it was and do away with their proposed expansion, and then also approve a Smoothie King operation that has the drive-through component to it. So I'll be going through that case. Really, there's not much to it. The drive-through would go behind the building, and then stacking would occur behind the building. They do have sufficient parking, although I say that they're short 2 parking spaces in terms of the zoning requirements, but with the different types of uses in that center, it really works. The donut shop closes at noon, and the dry cleaners is open, at differing times. So 80% of the drive-through traffic, or 80% of the Smoothie King business is done through the drive-through. So really there's not a need for the 27 parking spaces. There's already 25 out there, so we're supporting an exception for 2 parking spaces, although they have those 2 shown on their plans for future if, say, they're warranted. If, say, the tenant mix changes, then they'll go ahead and build those spaces. So we've accounted for them. It's just not necessarily necessary for them to build them at this time. We did have one person in opposition or one property in opposition, and that's directly behind it. And they had concerns related to noise, related to air pollution, and traffic. So they are right there. In looking at their site plan, they were short one perimeter landscape tree. So we're asking them to add that, and we're asking them to add it directly behind the residence that does have the concern. So, that will help alleviate some of their concerns, hopefully provide a little bit more of a buffer between the properties. That's really it. Are there any questions about that case before we get out in the room?
Pat, I see on the staff recommendations the hours of operation to control that. There's not going to be any background music or anything like kind of at some of the other coffee shop or anything like that.
Right. No background music. What we have asked that they do is face the speaker on the drive-through on the menu board, face that south, so it's not conflicting or not going towards the residential land use. So that'll help alleviate some of that potential noise.
Matt, this is Jim Walker.
Yes,
So right now, with the variance on the 2 parking spots, I understand your point perfectly about the donut shop closing at noon and that sort of thing.
Right.
If say the donut shop closes and another tenant moves in a couple of years and they have hours that are commensurate with Smoothie King's hours, would we treat that as a variance for the new tenant?
Well, at that time, we would require that the property owner go in and build those spaces.
Okay.
So the future spaces are shown, and there is a condition within staff's recommendation that says, hey, change in tenant mix will require you to build those spaces.
Okay, you guys are ahead of me as usual. Okay, thanks.
Now, it's a really good question. Okay, so no further questions on that one. The next one was my case as well. It was the Hollows at North Lake Woodlands. It's a residential replat request of the Franz Tennis Center. And so things are treated a little bit differently with the public hearing and the notice requirements for the residential replat. And that's why we had to move the meeting back a week, because it requires additional notification or earlier notification of the surrounding property owners. So we couldn't meet that deadline with our notification. So we had to bump this meeting out. So thanks for adjusting your schedules and meeting tonight. Basically, what they're doing there is they're demolishing the Franz Tennis Center, doing away with that, and then building or putting together 3 residential lots. And so through that desire, we looked at it and saw that they needed to clean up what was Lot 2, Block C, which is part of the TXU easement. The southern boundary or the southern portion of this replat, they needed to clean that up because they had 2 property owners for what we recognize as 1 lot. So with this request, they're platting 3 single-family 9 lots and cleaning up a common area lot on the southern end. Really not much to it. They're meeting the minimum requirements, so they're meeting the base zoning. They're exceeding it, and they're not taking out any trees. So it's basically a less intense sort of use at this location. I think we sent out 6 notices to surrounding property owners within the original subdivision. We got 1 in favor and 1 opposed. The 1 opposed didn't state in the reasons for their opposition. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about that.
Matt, will there be a, where the easement is, the overhead, the the lines, is it expected there'll be a fence along there? Or is it going to be open for lot 1R3? Is that going to be open all the way down?
Well, so yeah, lot 1R3, I don't believe Encore would allow a fence within their easement, so it will be open. So I believe where the fence would go is on the northern boundary of that easement.
Okay.
If, say, they did want a fence, they might just choose not to have a fence there.
And that's maintained by whom? The easement area, who maintains that?
Okay, so currently, the Franz Tennis Center maintains the western portion of that lot 2. Well, so on what's shown as lot 1R3 is the Franz Tennis Center that maintains it. What we show in our records as the legal lot would be lot 2, which I'll get into in the presentation. I'll show it, but it's where the easement is. So that's one lot, and that's maintained by River Chase. So effectively, what they're doing is they're dividing that into 2 pieces. Owner of lot 1R3, or the southernmost lot, would maintain that southern portion, and River Chase would maintain the eastern portion. Make sense?
Yeah. Is there not a hard property line though that divides the two? I mean, if lot 1R3 is being sold out, wouldn't lot 2RX and that whole area in the easement area, wouldn't that all be a separate property?
Yeah, lot 2RX is going to be a separate property, and the southern portion of lot 1R3 is just the southern portion of lot 1R3. It's not a separate lot. It's the part of the residential lot, which will be maintained by the owner of lot 1R3.
Okay.
It's just there's an easement over the property.
Okay.
So just to clarify, that lot has the Encore easement across the top of it on the south side.
Right. Lot 1R3 has an easement, and lot 2RX has an easement on top of it.
But that's a separate lot.
But that's a separate
Okay.
lot. So it's an easement over two lots.
And is there any requirement? I mean, you said the owner of lot 1R3 is going to maintain that area all the way down to Crestview, where it says lot 2.
Correct. Yeah, they'll maintain that entire portion.
Okay. Does there need to be? I mean, if the homeowner association is maintaining lot 2RX, does there need? What if lot 1R3 decides, you know what, that's just too much, I'm not going to do that? Does there need to be something in writing that they maintain that area?
It is their property, so they would maintain it. We can put a note for the record that they will be responsible for maintenance. Lot 2RX is, I believe there's a condition that's maintained by River Chase HOA. We can say this, you can include that as a condition for point of clarification.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
thank you.
that's a good idea, frankly.
Matt, tell me again, where's the common area you talked about?
Lot 2RX is on the southeast corner.
Yeah, so the whole lot 2RX is the common area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
And any failure to maintain the property, I mean, they'd be cited, right?
Right. Yeah, our code enforcement would go out and make them mow it and. Okay, any other questions on my case? Okay, Mary, you're up. I'm going to mute.
Sorry, 1 second. Oops. Sorry, I did something to my screen. I'm trying to fix it. All So the next two cases, item number 9 is basically a replat, and that's a companion item to the Sheraton Four Points Hotel that we brought to you late last year. So it's a replat to allow the Sheraton Hotel to be constructed at the corner of Northwestern and State Highway 121. So it's basically reconfiguring those two lots there and creating that lot for the Sheraton. You have any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward. It's just creating a new lot, creating the easement and spire lanes. Not much to that one. Now, item number 10, unless you have any questions on mine. Item number 10 is 748 DeForest. So this piece of property is a residential piece of property. It has a house on it right now with a pool, a carriage house, and I believe a shed. So it was recently purchased, I guess within the last year, by a new owner, and they're looking to do some modifications to the property. So not only are they looking to, I think, do some remodeling to the existing house, but also to build upon their property. So they have requested, or they are requesting, some additional structures on the site. One is a guest suite. Another is a pool house with a game room and bar area. They're going to expand their porch area, and they're going to add a greenhouse. So the majority of these new buildings will be constructed behind the main residence. So it'll back up to the north end of the property, more towards the creek area. So we did have, let's see. So in terms of the architecture and everything like that, it's going to match the existing house. So they'll have some stone, a little bit of stucco, some cast stone. They're going to have a big trellis that goes from the pool to the pool house. So they're doing some big changes. The other element to this request is currently, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that property. So if you're driving down to Forest, it's on the north side, and there's a driveway there. And when you pull in, right now there's a gate with an entry feature. So they're looking to also improve that entry feature along into their property. So right now it has like a sliding gate. They're going to, redo that whole entrance, make it, pull the retaining walls back a little bit. They're going to add a new entry feature and new gates, and the gates will swing in. So so once you pull off the Forest and go past that gate, it's you're going about a quarter of a mile up the road before you actually hit where the residence is. So it's like a big long driveway, and once you go about a quarter of a mile, then the property opens up. So it's a almost a 5.1 acre property. And so back in the house, this original PD was approved in 2000 when they built the house, and then in 2002 they added a carriage house to the property, which was connected to the main structure. So the original PD didn't have that. So part of this PD request is just to, show that it exists. We did find, building permits and inspection for that carriage house. So the new structures are going to be 1 story. Some of the calls that we've received regarding this request, I think there's some misunderstanding as to what exactly is being requested. because some of the phone calls that I've fielded or even emails, I think some people are a little bit confused, and hopefully the presentation will clarify or hopefully solve part of that any confusion that's out there. So this request is not to subdivide the property. It's not to add an additional entrance into the property. It's not to allow multi-family dwelling units. So this is, this is their house and I'll say their compound, and they're wanting to expand, the use of their property. So one of the other questions that has come up is, are they converting it into a business? No, I spoke with the owner, and the architect will be here this evening as well. This is basically their family home, and they're trying to, redo the entire property. So this is part of that project for them. One of the items, or another question that was brought up was, are they, looking to do an Airbnb or what have you? My conversation with the owner as well as the architect is that no, that guest suite that they're building beside the pool area is to allow for, room for their family to occupy. So the owner has, an elderly mother that when she comes to visit or stay with them, they wanted to provide something that, was at a ground floor level and allows them access to the rest of the house and still be close to them. So in terms of that guest suite, will have a bedroom area and a bathroom. There's no dining facilities in it. It's just strictly a guest room. Also attached to that guest suite, and only accessible from the outside, will be change room and shower for the pool area. And then when you move to the pool house area, there's an open area, and there is a kitchen with fridge and those types of items in the pool house, as well as a bar area. And contiguous to that is a game room where they're going to have, I believe, like a golf simulator or something in it. So, and then attached to that will be also storage area for the pool items. So that is all pretty much configured behind the main structure. And then once you get to, there's a greenhouse that they're proposing, and that is located out east, on the east side of the property. It's about, I think 300 and some odd square feet. So the majority of that greenhouse will look like the rest of the residential structure in terms of materials, but obviously with a glass skylight roof top. And so that's located, like I said, on the east side of the property. So I'm not sure if you have any questions, but so those are the items on tonight's agenda.
I have a question.
Yeah, I've got a question too. Go ahead, Sue.
Because this is located along Denton Creek, will they have to look to see where the finished floor of these new buildings are going to reside in terms of the 100-year flood?
Yeah, definitely. That'll be, our engineering staff has looked at these plans and do not have any concerns at this moment in time. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this property is already a PD. If this property was zoned single family, none of this would be allowed under single family zoning. But because it's a PD, or it was already a PD for whatever reason when it was platted, and now it's an amended PD to allow these additional things, there can be the consideration for these additional items, right?
Correct.
Okay. And I noticed just from looking at the aerial image, there's a lot of trees back there. Is there any different treatment because of trees, the heavy wooding back there, and maybe removing some of those for the facilities because it's a PD? My understanding is single family, they could take out all the trees they want, but does it change with a PD?
No, so, it is a single family residence. And they, like you said, that does not apply in terms of, tree mitigation or what have you.
Okay.
Discussion with the owner was that he's already, paid to have someone come up and prune the trees and look after the trees. I guess it hasn't been looked after to his satisfaction previously. So he plans on doing some additional landscaping to the property. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I have a follow-on question.
Yeah.
Normally we don't have Mr. Garza joining us for meetings. So Mike, you're part of this meeting. Are you going to be delivering part of a presentation or just here for Q&A or?
So good evening, everybody. I'm back in the engineering department, so I will be involved with the P&Z process moving forward.
Okay.
I was in operations for 5 years, and now I'm back in engineering. Kumar and I switched roles.
Okay. All right.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Normally, we'd make you come all the way down from the back of the all that, so we're safe with that. But is there any drainage issues or anything that we need to be aware of?
No, we've looked at this pretty closely, and if there's any existing drainage issues, we would probably recommend them resolve them as they're doing it today. I understand there may be some standing water in certain areas of this property. It's a large piece of property. And so we would recommend as they're doing these improvements that they just correct some of those existing issues that are there today. These structures are set far back from the floodplain and from the creek, and so we don't anticipate any issues with the floodplain and drainage in this area.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a levee behind this property? I guess there is, right?
Yep, there is. It's the old Denton Creek comes through here, and then it ties into the big Denton Creek with the levee system.
In the last flooding, did the levee get breached in this area? Was this area underwater?
It was up to the 100-year floodplain elevation, so it matched exactly what the maps looked like, which was a surprise. Not a surprise, but it was somewhat a surprise.
A pleasant surprise.
Pleasant surprise, yes.
They don't need to do anything with Lomer or make any adjustments or anything?
Nope. No, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so, drainage was one of the things that was brought up for people in that area that are concerned, but as Mike said, these new structures shouldn't impact, any of the existing conditions.
Good to see you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff on the case? All right, Mary, what else we got?
The last item on the agenda is, update on city council items. We didn't have any items that went to council this last go around.
So we're about a minute out. We also have some administrative business to attend to tonight. Election of a chair and a vice chair.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we want to talk about that here before we go into general session? I'll throw out that I'd like to retain the chair, give it one last go here. Not saying anything about beyond a year, but at least for this next year. So I'll nominate myself.
I would support you in that, Eddie.
Thank you, Sid. Okay. We're gonna. Is there anybody else who desires for chair? Okay. All righty. How about vice chair?
I would renominate Glenn Portman.
I'm good with that too.
I third it.
We have
Oh, we're not
I'll
voting
serve
yet.
to the end of the year.
we have a motion, a second, a third, and a fourth. Okay, so it sounds like we're set on some administrative requirements tonight. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and do you want a quick break before we go into general session? Okay, I see Sue nodding her head. So it's 6:31, and we'll take a 5-minute break till about 6:36, and then we'll reconvene into the general session. So I will adjourn the work session.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 6:38, and the Planning and Zoning Commission is now reconvening into regular session. All of the members of the commission are present. Item 4 on the agenda this evening is a citizen's appearance, and with the shelter-in-place order still in effect, the regular session is closed to in-person attendance. However, if there are any letters or emails from the public that have been submitted to the Coppell Planning Division as part of any item on the agenda, those will now be read into the record. Mary, did we receive any comments? Mary, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
Right.
We did receive some comments, both for the Smoothie King item, which I think the people are present for that item.
Okay.
And then we did receive comments for 748 Forest, which is item 10. So we had 3 replies in terms of in favor within the 200 feet, and we had another 2 in opposition within the 200 feet. We did receive some other comments from people outside of the 200 feet, but if you'd like, I can read those comments now, or I can wait till the actual agenda item.
Let's go ahead and wait till the agenda item.
Okay.
Anything else there, Mary, on item 4?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. Item 5 on the agenda is the approval of the December 17th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It's hard to believe that's already 2 months ago. Are there any questions or discussion by the commission on those minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the minutes be approved as written for the December 17, 2020 meeting.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Portman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Blankenship. Cammie, would you please call the roll?
Got it. Please respond by saying aye or nay when I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
I will abstain.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
I abstain since I wasn't there.
And Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Cammie. Item 6 this evening is the election of officers. And welcome aboard, Commission Member Bishop. Are there nominations for the chair for the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I nominate Eddie Haas as chair for the next term.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Walker. Is there a second?
Second. Too slow.
Sorry, who was the second on that?
I believe it was Commissioner Blankenship.
Okay.
Okay. So do we need to make a vote or? Okay. So Cammie, could you call the vote? You want to do them both or one at a time?
We can do one at a time.
Okay.
Do it. Okay, one at a time.
Yeah.
Please respond by saying aye or nay when I say your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
And Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you to the commission there. We need a motion for the vice chair, and I'd like to nominate Commissioner Portman as vice chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Cammie, would you call the roll there? We have a motion by Haas for Commissioner Glenn Portman as the vice chair and a second by Commissioner Blankenship.
Please respond by saying aye or nay when I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Item 7 on the agenda is a public hearing. This is to consider approval of PD-305-C, Smoothie King, a zoning change request from commercial to plan development number 305 commercial, to amend the detailed site plan to allow for a 1,400 square foot proposed Smoothie King drive-through in the existing 875 square foot Donut City restaurant, with 2 future parking spaces on 0.842 acres of land located at 205 North Denton Tap Road at the request of property owner Mahesh Nasta and being represented by Greg Franco, GPF Architects. We have staff member Matt Steer to present the case. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. This is located on the west side of North Denton Tap Road, north of Town Center Drive, just north of the Sonic Drive-Up restaurant. In December 2000, City Council approved the site plan and minor plat for a 4,000 square foot building on the subject property. And then August 2001, Council approved a special use permit allowing for the donut shop in the structure. Then in November of last year, a site plan amendment was approved to revise the existing site plan to include a 864 square foot addition to the southern portion of the building. And they were proposing to remove the drive-through, and they had other various site modifications. But before this was constructed, Smoothie King approached the plaza owner to occupy the southernmost 1,350 square feet lease space and retain the drive-through. And because the applicant's requesting to install 2 future parking spaces that encroach in the perimeter landscaping slightly, and because Smoothie King is considered a drive-through restaurant with residential adjacency, a plan development is required for the variance and use. Next slide, please. Next slide. The 4,000 square foot building is shown in red. Next slide. The Smoothie King is proposing to occupy 1,350 square feet on the southern end. Next slide. This includes what's shown here is the floor plan. 635 square feet is the customer service area, and then 715 square feet is the employee area where they prepare the smoothies. Next slide. Parking required for the various uses are 27, and they're providing 25. Next slide. Okay, go back one slide. And then you can see on the western property line, okay, now hit it. Okay, you can see the future parking spaces come in. So those will be constructed if, say, there's a need at this time whenever everything's up and running, or when the future tenant mix necessitates that. Right now, with the hours of operation, we don't feel that those 2 parking spaces are necessary, but we have included that as a PD condition, which I'll read into the record at the end of the presentation. Next slide. Through putting this PowerPoint presentation together, we realized that they were 1 perimeter tree short. So we've added a condition to the staff's recommendation to include that additional tree on the western property line. Next slide. So on this slide, you can see they are modifying. There is an existing pass-through a door there, and they're converting that to a drive-through window. So they'll match the building materials that are existing on the structure. Next slide. They're proposing 24 square feet and attached signage, which is compliant with the ordinance. Next slide. And then the menu board. That'll be located on the south side of the building, adjacent to the drive-through, and just west of the building. So it'll be essentially behind the building. It won't be that red color. We've requested that it be a neutral or earth tone color. So they will modify that, but this is just a sample of one of their existing, their prototypes. The speakers will face to the south and will not face to the west, to where the residential properties are. So they are requesting a variance to the masonry requirement that typically we have with all structures here. We feel that because it's behind the building and because they are going to paint it a neutral earth tone color, that is an acceptable variance to, or condition to apply to this PD. Next slide. We sent out 18 notices to property owners within 200 feet and 73 courtesy notices to property owners within 800 feet. We did receive one letter in opposition, and that's the property owner that's directly to the west of this request at 192 Diamond Ridge. They stated in the letter, their bedroom window faces the back of the building. The screening wall on the back end they measured it at 5.5 feet tall. They had noise, privacy, and air quality concerns. And the dry cleaners, part of their concern was the dry cleaners used to be located in the space that the Smoothie Kings proposed. And that traffic was mainly before work and after work hours, where the Smoothie King will be throughout the day and even into the nighttime. They stated that they are already negatively impacted by the Sonic restaurant and other drive-through restaurants in the area. They are on the call and do want to speak, I believe, during the public hearing. Next slide, please. Staff is recommending approval of this request subject to the following conditions. 1, allowing 2 restaurant uses, the Donut City and Drive-Through Smoothie King, abutting a residential zoning. 2, the hours of operation shall not exceed the following. For the Smoothie King, they'll have 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday, 7 to 9 Monday through Friday, and 8 to 9 on Saturday. With Donut City, they'll have 6 to 12 Tuesday through Sunday, and they're closed on Monday. 3, signage shall be as indicated on the rendering or in compliance with signage section of the zoning ordinance. Next slide. Menu board shall be located as shown on the site plan and granted an exception to the 80% masonry requirement. 5, a construction development permit through the Public Works Department shall be required for future parking. This shall be constructed if needed or when the change in tenant mix necessitates more parking under the current zoning ordinance. And 6, add an overstory tree on the western property line. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant's in the virtual call, and Greg Franca is the representative.
Thank you very much, Matt. Quick question for you. With regards to the speaker on the menu board, are there any limitations on the volume or that it shall not exceed a certain decibel requirement, anything like that?
Now, we have done that. I believe, well, actually, I'm not sure that we have. We've just, we've addressed the direction of the speaker and the microphone, but we haven't done that in other instances, I don't believe. Okay. So there hasn't been any discussion on this case.
So if we didn't call it out, are there standards within our development code that says for drive-throughs and the speakers that there's a threshold that can't be exceeded?
There's a noise level we can put. I know there's a 65 decibels that we require for. It seems to be appropriate for residential construction.
Okay.
We could put that noise limit on there, if you so wish.
Are there any additional lights that'll be through the drive-through lane, or will it only be the menu board that'll be lit?
They weren't showing any new lights with this proposal, but I'll let Greg speak to that if indeed going to put more lights.
Okay. Any questions by the commission of staff?
Yes, Matt, this is Ed. As it relates to the masonry requirement on, as it relates to the menu board, what was the rationale again about making the exception?
It's just located behind the building. It's not going to be visible from the public right of way.
If you compare that to other menu boards up and down Denton Tap that are behind the building, are there other exceptions, or are they all masonry?
You know, offhand, I'm trying to think. The one that we just approved for Coppell Deli or Deli Man, that did not have the masonry on it.
Okay.
Correct, or 151 coffee.
Yeah, so the past two cases have not required the masonry.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff by the commission? Okay. So we understand that Greg Franca is here for representing the applicant. Greg, are you out there for?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Very good. We got you loud and clear, Greg.
Okay. Well, we reviewed it, and Mahesh and I agree with all the requirements, the six requirements. I don't have any additional comments, but we'll be glad to address any questions.
Okay. So I'll just follow up first with my question regarding sound limitations on the drive-through. Because of the comment by the property owner on noise and things like that, are there limitations on the volume threshold that, Matt had cited 65 dBL as kind of the threshold in residential? I mean, is there any thoughts there from your perspective on that?
No, I'd really need to get some input from Smoothie King, but I believe we are facing due south, and we could put an extra shield on the sign to help direct the sound away from the west side, if that's a consideration.
Mine would be just as long as it doesn't go above that residential threshold. So, even if there was a shield there, that means the volume could be cranked up.
Well, that's true.
So, I'm going to ask staff another question on that in a minute, but what about lights? Are there any additional lighting onto the drive-through lane other than the menu board?
We're not planning to add anything to the building, just whatever's there will be operational.
Okay, very good. Any other questions by the commission of the applicant? Okay. Greg, stay close by. We may come back to you after the public hearing. So, Matt, the applicant had identified putting a shield to deflect any sound volume. I'm citing that maybe it might be better served if there's a threshold. I just don't know how we have treated other sites here in Coppell with any kind of volume threshold.
Yeah, I think on the 151 coffee, we didn't put a decibel level on it. That was the latest one, and they had speakers, they had noise, they had they had music coming from their speakers. So what we had required of them was for them to have it directionalized to the away from the residences and to the commercial properties. So that's the way they had treated it, and there weren't any levels of decibels placed on that. And with Deli Man, I believe we also did the directional speaker and microphone away from the residential, and that was a very similar case to this.
So what would be going forward? Let's say the application gets approved and it's just loud. And so for adjacent properties, it would be calling in code enforcement, putting in a complaint that it's too loud, have them turn it down? What would be the protocol? I mean,
yeah, if it's loud and obnoxious, then that would be a police matter, and so the police would be called. So
I guess the uncertainty is what is loud and obnoxious? Is it above 65 dBl in an adjacent residential development? I mean, that's the threshold for, isn't that for just general noise?
Well, that's the threshold that we had looked at. If you remember when we looked at the noise attenuation zone in Old Town for the air traffic, so we said maintain if it's exceeds the 65 decibel level, then you need to do some sort of noise mitigation or construction technique to minimize that noise in the inside of the home. So that's where the 65 decibel level comes from. I think that just with the directional pointing this in the south, maybe even the shield, I think that they should be fine with the noise levels.
And researching it real quickly, they say normal human voice is 50 to 65 decibel. If you and me are in a room talking, it would be at that level.
So from the menu board, would it be that same level? Or would it be louder?
I think your proximity to the menu board is a matter of, 3 feet plus or minus?
Probably.
So I think we could tune the volume on the menu board if needed to a specified level.
Okay. Any other questions of staff by the commission before we go to public hearing? Okay. Mary, if you could introduce the public hearing is now open, and if you could introduce our resident who requested to speak on the item.
I think Matt has that information.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt, if you could introduce.
Yeah. So Catherine Ip is on the call. Catherine?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear us? Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate y'all and how thorough y'all have discussed and actually answer some of my questions regarding the noise, which is my main concern. And I lived at 192 and all our bedroom windows directly face the building. So basically the whole building, including Donut City and the dry cleaner now in the middle and Smoothie King, basically face the whole of my residential building. And my master bedroom is facing directly towards them. And so the noise level, I have heard yet that y'all addressed that. So if it's beyond the 65 down in the road, and what I've heard is that I will be calling the police. Is that right? Or is that the right procedure for me to do it down the road?
Well, we'll get to that. Let me just hear all your comments there if we could.
Okay, yes. So the noise, that's the first thing. And then I have heard y'all talk about the lighting. So far, there's only one light that is from the building facing west towards my residential area. And I'm not sure it would be bright enough down in the road. And if it is, that would be great. But if it's more lighting to be added, can I request that the added lighting won't be from the building towards west facing us? Because there would be additional glare, there would be additional light. Can it be possible that it actually constructed from the west side towards the building side? For additional lighting, if that's possible. That's my concern of the lighting. That's the second issue. And the third thing is the trash can, that y'all did not mention anything about the trash can, because we are very close to Sonic's and we have a lot of mouse problems too. There is a trash can right there at the corner when the drive-through turn from the back towards the front of the building, towards the drive-through. So I'm not sure, would that also be addressed also? And then let's see. So yes, so my main concern is mainly the noise and the glaring of additional lightings.
Okay.
And also the trash can, the big trash can.
Okay. Anything else there, Miss Ip?
Yes, so far, that's it. I mean, I guess there are not a lot, since, you know, they have to be there and so I guess those are just my concerns.
Thank you very much. Matt, is there anybody else signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing. But to address your comments the item, Ms. Ip, there's the item of the noise. There is no change in lighting, so that's kind of a non-issue really. And but I'll certainly ask the applicant with regards to your item 3, the trash can. Looking at the plat, I see an existing dumpster, which I don't, and we'll bring him in here in a second on if there's any changes there. And then we'll certainly address the noise and what might be the remedies if there's a complaint. So Greg, if I could bring you back in, the applicant, were there any changes with regards to the dumpster or the trash cans back in the back?
No, it's currently existing and there are no changes planned.
Okay. And just to confirm, okay, so we've addressed that. And just to confirm, there's no changes in lighting or anything with regards to
whatever's there will be operational, but no additional lights planned at this time.
Okay. And then the only other item is the noise. And I am of the opinion that we might want to put a threshold on the sound, but I'd like to bounce that off Matt if there's any negative implication on that. Matt, if I could bring you in, thank you, Greg. Matt, if I could, is there a negative implication if we put a limit on the speaker?
The only thing is it would change the enforcement. It would, if you put the noise as a zoning condition, that would make it a code enforcement item as opposed to a police item. You know, well, depending, and then we would need to figure out how to measure noise and where to measure it from. I've got a decibel level chart pulled up on my my computer here. So it says from 60 to 65 decibels. It's kind of gives an explanation of what that's like, and that's laughter. So if you're in a conversation, you have laughter, right? And then 70 decibels is a vacuum cleaner or a hairdryer. So I would think that the sound of the car would muffle the conversation enough between the speaker to abate the noise, especially if we're between 65 and 70 decibels.
Okay. Then I will probably not then insert anything if you are of the opinion that in the past there hasn't been issues with other properties and in menu boards and speakers.
Yeah, I think Greg had a good idea of putting a shield on there just to ensure that, you know, if they've got some Bose speakers or something, they're not going to illuminate wide. So if they have a shield next to the speakers, then that might help.
Okay. You'd have quality sound with Bose. If it was something else, it might not be quality sound. Greg, if I could bring you in, I do like your idea of adding a shield to help temper or deflect or direct the sound away from the residential. Would you be open to adding the shield there on the speaker?
Absolutely.
Okay. All righty. Are there any other questions from the commission to the applicant or staff on this one? Okay. So,
Chairman, I do have a question.
All right, fire away.
So as it relates, this is for Matt, and I guess potentially the applicant as well. As it relates to lighting in the back, it sounds like there's no changes planned. The question is it adequately lighted on all parts of the back of the property from a safety standpoint currently?
Greg, if we could bring you in on that one.
My observation is it's rather dark back there and on the north side as well. And you can get lights with cutoffs that say would cut off at the edge of the back curb, and then from there it's almost another 20 feet to the wall that separates to the residential. So there could be light added and still be well cut off before it hits property line.
Is the building adequately lit for safety?
In my opinion, it's too dark on the backside.
Okay.
And usually you want anywhere from a half to 2 foot candles back there. And I would say it's not that bright.
So we've had a comment from an adjacent resident of light being an issue. And you originally commented no change in lighting. Now we're bringing the possibility of lighting into the equation.
That was not previously an issue.
Right, because you didn't add any lighting.
Correct.
So, okay, we're not adding lighting then. You're just making an observation that it's dark. That's it.
Yeah, I was asked in my opinion, and in my opinion, it's dark, but
you're not
an issue.
Increase the lighting.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're not requesting to increase the
No,
lighting.
sir, not at all.
Okay, I think we're good. And thank you for the added shield on the speaker there to help deflect any sound away from the residential area.
Absolutely.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay. Any discussion by the commission?
Just to follow up on my last comment, as long as we feel it's adequately lit from a safety standpoint, so when employees are walking back there, that there's, whatever that level would deem it to be adequate. I'm not suggesting that lights be added by any means, but as long as we feel that it's safe and as compared to a comparable property.
So Matt, can we bring you in on this one from staff's perspective? Is the lighting adequate from a safety perspective?
I'm not that familiar with the lighting on that property. I can tell you that those the future parking spaces aren't proposed right now. So really, you don't have people walking back there at night. You do have 2 parking spaces that are tucked in the far corner, but the majority of the parking spaces are either in front or right directly adjacent to the building.
If those 2 spaces were to be required, that then comes through the process, or is that administratively done?
That would be administratively done. And there are methods of adding lights, wall packs with shields, so the neighbors won't see the glare from the lights, and they'll be projected downwards to the bottom of the wall. And so there are methods of doing it. And yeah, I wouldn't want to put any restrictions on this property for the future if, say, lighting does become an issue, you know, putting something in there that we've got our glare and lighting standards that do protect the residential properties that are adjacent to them. So
is that addressed now or when the 2 parking spaces are triggered and then it's addressed then?
We could address it then if you want to write that in as a condition. That would be my suggestion, my opinion.
Okay. Okay. All righty. With that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to recommend approval of PD-305-C, case number PD-305-C, the Smoothie King, with the staff conditions as presented, with the additional conditions, and that is on the speaker to add a shield to deflect sound away from the residential area, number 1. And then a second addition, that when the additional parking spaces, if that's triggered for installation, to address lighting to comport with the light and glare standards that we have per our city code. Does that kind of get it, Matt?
Yes, sir. You could add that as the second condition. You could add that to part of condition 5.
Okay, so, all right, then a construction development permit through the Public Works Department shall be required for future parking, and that lighting, and if additional lighting is installed, that it complies with city standards.
Yeah, just add another sentence to that.
Okay, sounds good. So we have an extended motion here. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Haas, a second by Commissioner Walker. Cammie, would you call the roll?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much to the applicant for addressing our concerns, and thank you very much to our resident for providing input on the case. Moving on to item 8 this evening. This is a public hearing. This is the Hollows at North Lake Woodlands. This is to consider approval of Hollows at North Lake Woodlands, lots 1R-1, 1R-2, 1R-3, and 2RX Block C replat, that being a replat of the Hollows at North Lake Woodlands, lots 1 and 2, Block C, into 3 residential and 1 common area lots containing 2.094 acres of land in total, located at the northeast corner of Mockingbird Lane and Crestview Drive at the request of Southwest Frontenis and River Chase HOA, being represented by Sam Hassan. We have the staff report by Matt Steer. Matt?
Thank you. Okay, so as you mentioned, this is item number 8, the second public hearing of the evening. It's located on the northeast corner of Mockingbird and Crestview. It is a residential replat request. Next slide. 600 Mockingbird was originally platted in April 1985. The property was included in the Hollows of North Lake Woodlands subdivision, which was platted in late 1998. And then Lot 1, Block C, contained the Franz Tennis Center, and this actually had a residence included in the tennis center. Lot 2, Block C, was an easement that was a TP&L easement, and it was to be maintained by River Chase Homeowners Association. So throughout the years, that property, the ownership of Lot 2, Block C, the western portion, became owned by Franz Tennis Center. It was sold by the River Chase HOA to Franz Tennis Center, and the eastern portion was retained by them. So this plat will kind of clean that up as well. Next slide, please. Purpose of the proposed replats to set up 3 single-family residential lots. And the current zoning of this property and the adjacent properties to the north, the east, and the south is single-family 9. The standards for the single-family 9 zoning include minimum 75-foot lot width, and that's measured at the front yard building line, and a minimum of 100-foot lot depth. The minimum lot area is 9,000 square feet. Therefore, just abiding by the minimum lot widths and depths, that wouldn't be sufficient. So lot 1R1 has 12,400 square feet. Lot 1R2 has 14,300 square feet. And lot 133R has 47,350 square feet. And then the remaining lot 2RX has 17,150 square feet. So that well exceeds the minimum areas within the SF9 district. Next slide, please. So the applicant and their surveying team, they put together a plan for 3 lots that conform to those SF9 requirements. The garage access to each of the residences is off of the alley. Next slide. So the sewer easement that was shown in brown is proposed to be abandoned as this will no longer be needed, as they'll be getting their sewer service off of Mockingbird Lane. The southern portion of lot 1R3, next slide. That area there was previously owned and maintained by River Chase HOA. This portion was sold from River Chase to the current owner and is now being incorporated into lot 1R3. This area still has the TPNL or TXU easement running through it, which can't be built on without permission from Encore. Next slide. That's where the easement goes over the property. And then next slide, lot 2RX Block C is a common area lot and will be continued to be maintained by the River Chase HOA. Next slide, please. Here's the tree survey that the applicant put together. There are 237 caliper inches of trees, and they're proposing to retain all of those on site. Next slide. We sent out 18 notices. We sent out 7 notices within the existing subdivision and received 1 notice in favor, 1 opposed, without any details as to why they were opposed. Next slide. And staff is recommending approval of lots 1R1 to 1R3, lot 2RX Block C, Hollows of North Lake Woodlands replat, subject to the following conditions. 1, construction development permit with engineering review will be required for utility connections and grading. 2, surface runoff must drain from an individual lot to a public right-of-way or to an underground drainage system contained in a public easement and will not be allowed to surface drain onto another lot. Next slide, please. Provide a plan showing where sewer services will run for each lot. This is needed to determine if the abandonment of the sewer easement can take place. I'll tell you that they just submitted that a couple of days ago. Park fees are $12.85 per new residential unit. So because they had 1 existing residence in the Franz Tennis Center, we'll get them for 2 new lots. Roadway impact fees are due prior to plat recordation, and water and wastewater impact fees are due prior to building permit. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. The proposed property owner, Sam Hassan, is in the audience as well, if you have any questions for him. Thank you.
Matt, on condition 3,
Yes, sir.
is this project contingent on the abandonment of the sewer easement?
No, sir. No, sir. And actually, we can eliminate that as a condition because they have provided that sewer plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions of staff by the commission? Okay, Matt, did anybody sign up to speak on this from the public?
No, we don't have anyone sign up from the public.
Okay. And then, okay, so if I could turn it over to the applicant, Mr. Hassan, are you out there?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, how are you? Is there anything that you would like to add to the presentation?
I cannot hear you, sorry. Oh, no, I don't have anything, sorry. Yeah, sorry, man.
Okay. In our work session, I asked a question about maintenance of the easement area. And I'm going to add an additional condition. Could you hear me there?
Now I can hear you, yes. Now I can, yeah.
Okay.
Now it's clear.
I'm going to put that note as a condition on the staff comment here. Are there any you're in agreement with the staff conditions also? Mr. Hassan?
Hey, Sam?
No, I cannot hear. I'm trying to, I cannot hear this way.
As presented by staff?
No.
One more time here. Are you in agreement with the conditions as presented?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Are there any questions of the applicant about the commission? I don't want to take him away from his event there. All righty. This is a public hearing, and Matt, you cited that there are no one had signed up to speak from the public. So with that, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the commission?
No.
Okay. Matt, then, in our work session, I was the one that commented about the maintaining the lot with a note. That's going to be an added condition here. So I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion to approve the hollows at North Lake Woodlands, lots 1R-1, 1R-2, 1R-3, and 2RX Block C replat with the conditions as presented by staff, and the additional condition that a note be added to the plat that the owner of lot 1R-3 would maintain the easement area adjacent to Crestview Drive. So with that motion, is there a second by the commission or from the commission?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, I think that was Commissioner Guerra. So we have a motion by Commissioner Haas, second by Commissioner Guerra. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay as I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chair Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much to the applicant there, and
Thank you.
you bet. Item 9 on the agenda is Prologis Park 121 replat. This is to consider the approval of Prologis Park 121 lots 2R-2R and 3R Block B, a replat, that being a replat of Prologis Park 121 lots 2R2 and 3 Block B containing 6.441 acres of land located on the northeast corner of State Highway 121 and Northwestern Drive at the request of Archway 121 Coppell Limited and being represented by Winkleman and Associates. Our staff report is by Miss Mary Perone Boswell. Mary, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. This item 9 on your agenda tonight is located at the northeast corner of Northwestern Drive and State Highway 121. We took this PD in front of you just a couple months ago. Next slide, please. And so this is a companion request to the Sheridan 4 Points. Next, please. So this PD would allow for a 73,190 square foot hotel on lot 3R, which is identified on the southern portion there. The replat would configure the existing lots to allow for the construction of the proposed hotel and future commercial uses. And it does reconfigure the lot lines for that Sheridan Hotel. Also adds the fire lanes, utility easements, and what have you. Next slide. So staff is recommending approval of Prologis 121 addition lots 2R2 and 3R Block B replat subject to the following conditions. Number 1, that there may be additional comments during detailed engineering plan review, and 2, that tree mitigation fee shall be paid at the time of the tree removal permit. That's the end of my presentation. I believe the representative for Winkleman is here as well. Do you have any questions?
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mary. Any questions of staff by the commission? Okay. Is the applicant here this evening from Winkleman Associates? Maybe not.
No,
okay.
This is the Terrence Winkleman here.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. I see Terrence Young on the screen there.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Are you in agreement with the conditions as presented by staff?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions by the commission of the applicant? Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Young. Is there any final discussion on the item by the commission? Is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move that the commission approve number 9, Prologis 121 replat as submitted, subject to the staff conditions.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair Portman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Blankenship. Ms. Cammie, would you call the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay. So I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Mallard.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Ms. McGee. Item 10 on the agenda this evening is a public hearing. This is to consider approval of PD-184R2-SF-ED, that being 748 DeForest Road, Parker Coppell. The zoning change request from Plan Development number 184 Single Family Residential Estate District to Plan Development number 184 Revision 2 Single Family Residential Estate District to incorporate the existing carriage house as part of the Plan Development District, and to allow the addition of a guest suite, pool pavilion, game room, greenhouse, porch, and new entry gate to an existing residential unit located on 5.067 acres of land located at 748 DeForest Road at the request of the property owner, Parker Coppell, and being represented by Merrick Architecture. We have a staff presentation by Ms. Perone Boswell. Mary?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. This is item 10. It's the last public hearing on the agenda this evening. This property is located at 748 Forest, and it's on approximately 5.1 acres. It does back up to Denton Creek. Next slide, please. So the original PD was approved in 2000. In 2002, there was a carriage house that was constructed and attached to the house with a pergola, I believe, which you can see in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So what we're looking at this evening is to just add, show in this PD that the carriage house was constructed, and to allow for the addition of the guest suite, pool, pavilion, game room, greenhouse, porch, and the new entry gate. So the majority of this development will occur behind the existing house, backing up to Denton Creek. So if you look on the screen here, the items identified in the blue are the existing house. To the kind of southwest of that is the carriage house, and there's a shed. And the aqua blue is the pool. The yellow areas represent some additional concrete that's going to be added for the porch area. The orange rectangle to your left, or the west side, is the guest suite, and then to the right of that is the pool pavilion, bar area, and the game room. Located to the east on the site in the green is the greenhouse. And then on the bottom left is just a representation of what's going to happen at the entry gate feature. So this piece of property, if you're familiar with it from the previous slide, starts out at the forest. You enter through the gateway there, and then you have to go up about a quarter of a mile, or just a little bit more than a quarter of a mile, to get to the actual residence. Next slide, please. So first we'll be talking about the proposed gateway. So they currently have a gate feature there, but they're looking to replace that gate feature. So the existing retaining wall is going to be reconstructed. A new entrance feature and gate is proposed. While the existing gate is a sliding gate, the proposed one will be swing gates that open into the property. The fire department will require that the entry gate be equipped with the GTT Opticom sensor for emergency apparatus to open the gate, and a Knox override in case of malfunction. With this set of plans, there weren't any improvements noted for the asphalt driveway. So once you go past that gate, it's an asphalt driveway all the way up to the house. My latest discussion with the architect is they may try to maybe do some kind of top coat on top of that. So yeah. So while most residences, this house is a little bit different in terms of, you got to drive about a quarter of a mile before you get up to the house. Typically, most residences, you can, fight a fire from the street, and that street is typically made of concrete. This is an asphalt driveway, depending on, I guess, the time of year and the heat and everything. Staff was a little bit concerned that they may, if they have to do an emergency call, that that driveway, perhaps may get damaged with the weight of the apparatus. So one of the PD conditions that we were looking to add was that the city will not be responsible for repairing the driveway for any damage that may be caused responding to a call at this address. Next slide, please. So the original house was approved in 2000, as I mentioned, and then in 2002, the carriage house was built on the property connected to the main house with a covered walkway. Next slide. So this is a 2-story building with a garage on the ground floor and a room upstairs with a bathroom. It's located to the west of the main house along the circular drive. Next slide. As I mentioned, the majority of the new development will occur behind the existing house, backing up to Denton Creek. Construction begins with the extension of the concrete slab at the rear of the existing house and the addition of a covered porch area, as you can see in the rendering there on the bottom right. Next, the new covered open air porch area will match the main house in color, and will have a stone veneer, and they'll have built-in smoker countertops and a sink is proposed. So identified in the red dashed lines is where the porch addition will be going. Next slide. So what you're looking at right now in the orange is the proposed guest suite and pool bath, approximately 810 square feet. So this will be located on the west side of the pool area. It's 1 story, approximately 18 feet in height to the roof peak. It's proposed to contain a guest bedroom and bathroom. My discussion with the property owner was that this is not going to be rented out, but available for visiting family. This building will also contain a pool bathroom with a toilet, sink, and shower that is accessible only from the outside. Next. The building will be mostly of stone veneer with a cast stone band. The roofing for all of the new construction will be a Tesla shingle roof. Next slide, please. So the guest suite is on the, is left of this. As you move easterly, there's the pool house, which is approximately 2,300 square feet. This will have a kitchen. It will contain a cooktop and an island, sink, an oven, refrigerator, freezer, and a large open area. Next. This portion of the pool house is directly north of the pool area and opens up into a bar and game area to the east of the pool. The game area will include a golf simulator area. Also, a pool storage room is part of this building, but only accessible from the outside. Pool equipment will be located beside this area and screened with a wooden fence. Next slide, please. This illustration is just of the trellis elevation that's going to go from the pool up to the pool house, and just from a different perspective, east and west. So we'll have a concrete pad with a trellis of 9 feet 7 inches in height, proposed between the pool area and the new pool house. Next slide. And so one of the last items that they're looking to construct is a greenhouse, approximately 392 square feet, and is proposed east of the existing residence, approximately 44 to 120 feet from the adjacent properties, and is just under 17 feet in height. Next. First 10 feet of height will be of stone like the other buildings, with the remaining portion being a skylight. Next slide. This is just the material board, so you get a sampling of what they're planning to use. So you've got the stone veneer, chopped. You've got a stone trim, the window trimming, metal flashing, the stucco, wood soffits, the roofing material, and some of the concrete. Next slide, please. So we did send out letters within 200 feet and 800 feet. We did get a lot of responses and phone calls. I can read to you the majority of people that I spoke to. I think were just simply interested in finding out what was going on. They saw the sign and wanted to know, is the property being subdivided? Is there, a new subdivision going in? Is it going to be multifamily? Is there a business? And so think there was some confusion as to what the request was about. I think, some people looked at the number and thought it was going to be a two family dwelling units, which is not the case. Others thought that it was going to be like a whole new subdivision, which is not the case. So hopefully this presentation will clear up any of that confusion. We did get some, so most of the people I talked to just wanted to know what was going on. Some of the lingering concerns was related to, are they turning this into some type of a rental unit? My conversation with the owner is no, this is not, that is not their intent. They're looking to move in with their family and use it for their family. Some of the other issues that came up from some of the neighbors was drainage. How will the new buildings impact the drainage, as well as current conditions on site? So we did speak with our engineering group, and the buildings that are proposed to be constructed, as I mentioned, are located to the rear of the site and will drain into the creek. So if there's some existing issues, that is something that we can definitely discuss with the owner, but the new construction will not impact or have any more adverse impact on what's already there. I do have some emails from people within 200 feet. If you'd like me to read them at this point in time, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, Mary, that'd be great.
Okay. I got an email from Mr. Ben Baum. He said, Mary, great speaking with you yesterday. My notes included here, but the translation, as sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. The base of no VRBO Airbnb is covered. Thank you. Access and construction activities 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm sure this is a city ordinance. Minimize damage to existing trees behind the house on the east side of Inglenook. Please strongly pressure the privacy of our homes, backyards, those two that border the south on the 748 road property. I think you have all the bases covered. Really, this addition looks fantastic. Thanks for including us in this process. Much appreciated. So they were in favor. Let's see. Christy Vest. I live at 713 Stratford Lane, and my backyard backs up to this house. I do have some concerns on the zoning change request that 748 DeForest is requesting. One, I was highly opposed to the trees that they have already taken down prior to getting their designs approved. Two, this property already has severe drainage issues, and I'm concerned the further impact that this construction will have on the drainage concerns. In 2020, we spent thousands of dollars installing a sump pump on the back of our property to try to relieve the drainage issues. While this has definitely helped, our pump is running constantly and it has not cleared it up. There's constant standing water on their property, which causes huge mosquito problems about half the year. Before starting on construction, I would like to see a plan for how they are planning to fix the drainage problems that run the entire length of their driveway. Number three, I'm concerned about what they will be using the guest suite for. Is this purely for family visiting? Are they planning to rent it out, use it for Airbnb? We have a wrought iron fence running the entire back of our property, which looks directly onto the front side of their house. So increased traffic is definitely one of our highest concerns, both for construction and for the time after. Thank you for taking the time to hear our concerns. Then I got a reply notice from Kathy Anderson at 705 Stratford, and just indicated that she's in favor of the plan. Then I had another one they were within the 800, so the courtesy notice also saying that they were in favor of the plan. Let's see here. 635 Stratford Lane. We are opposed to this plan. Our concerns as neighbors stem from the past and future flooding issues, maintaining their driveway, which we share a fence with, dead limbs dropping over our yard, uncontrolled vines, including poison ivy, and most importantly, not just building two structures, but having two approaches to the same property. So this is where I think there's some misunderstanding because there's not a new approach or anything. As a future rental for Airbnb, VRBO, any rental service, the property, given its future architectural plans, rezoning, not to mention idyllic setting, acreage and proximity to an international airport, and access to easy driving to major landmarks that DFW offers, is an ideal rental property for weddings, private corporate parties, and events. The forest and its road and its surrounding properties is residential and must remain so. Most streets have an HOA that the homeowners are answerable to and must adhere to. 748 The Forest is not part of any HOA, and that with its current plans will lead to it being used for reasons that will be a hindrance and possibly negatively affect the property values of its neighbors. So they were in opposition. An AJ DB. Dear City of Coppell, I have lived in Coppell since 2010 at two addresses, first at 713 Stratford and now at 709 Stratford. When I moved, I literally moved to the house next door. I'm committed to the safety, close-knit community, schools, and quality of life that Coppell offers. I've read about the proposed planning district changes and have several concerns. One, traffic. The forest has already been expanded, and this expansion has been well utilized by the houses built at the end of the forest. To permit multifamily zoning for 748 The Forest would negatively impact or affect traffic and would likely create a bottleneck at the junction of the forest and MacArthur. This could also create safety issues with regard to cyclists and pedestrians who walk along the forest. Again, this is not being rezoned to multifamily. Drainage. Throughout my experience of living at 713 and now 709, drainage is an issue. Additional construction will likely also affect drainage negatively, as well as increased usage. 3, safety and flooding. Building closer to the Denton Creek does not seem wise, especially considering the water flooding issues that plague the houses near Denton Creek. 4, negative potential impact of short-term rentals at Airbnb. Many communities have protested about having properties rented by Airbnb and other short-term rental companies. The proposed changes in zoning would seem to facilitate the potential for short-term rentals, raising the potential for complaints by Coppell residents regarding noise, behavior of guests, etc. I respectfully ask the City Council to consider these concerns and reject the proposed zoning change. One from an 800 foot, another 800 foot, and 800 foot. So those were, basically I read to you the emails received that were within that 200 foot notification area. Like I said, I did speak to other people. I would say the majority of them were just had questions. And, you'd have, again, some other ones that were within probably that 800 feet, both for and against the request. Next slide, please.
Gary, all in all, is it 50-50 for and against, or what's the public input? What's it, 75-25? What's
I'd say it's about 50-50 in terms of, I had people that back right up to it that called and didn't necessarily write anything, but just said, oh, okay, I think this is great. And then I've got, 2 or 3 people that also back up to it who their biggest concern, I think is the drainage, the Airbnb thing. But I think there was a lot of confusion as to, this is not being multifamily. This is not creating a secondary entrance point. So I'm not sure if, the case was conveyed to them correctly in terms of what's being proposed.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, staff is recommending approval of PD 184R2-SFED 748-4, subject to the following conditions. One, that there may be additional comments at the time of building permit and detailed engineering review. Two, that building permit shall be required for all proposed building structures, paving, and fences. Three, the city shall not be responsible for any repairs to the driveway corresponding to calls at this address. Four, that the gate be equipped with the GTT Opticom sensor for emergency apparatus to open the gate and Knox override in the event of malfunction. Next, please. 5, that all new structures be equipped with NFPA-13R fire sprinkler systems and shall provide complete coverage, including small rooms. 6, that the existing garage carriage house, to allow the existing carriage house as shown on the plans. 7, to allow for the proposed accessory buildings to be taller than 12 feet in height as shown on the plans. 8, to allow for the accessory structures with a bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom plumbing as shown on the plans. And 9, that accessory units shall not be rented or leased out. So, in my discussion with Mr. Coppell, as I mentioned earlier, that's not his intention, at least not what he expressed to me, that the unit would be for, family when they come over or stay with them, so that they have someplace to stay. So with that being said, that is the end of my presentation. The architect is here this evening, and there's him and his team are here to answer any questions. And I do have engineering staff also with the city who are available to answer any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary. So, quick question. So, is the grade of the site going to be altered in the back at all? The finished floor level, is that going to be altered in any way to create a watershed or drainage issue onto any of the adjacent lots?
So in my discussion with our engineering staff is, and Mike, you can jump in if I mess it up, but essentially they were not concerned with the new structures, putting water on adjacent property. Structures where they were located would be, the majority of it would be draining into the creek.
That's correct, Mary.
I'm sure they'll take another closer look once, if this is approved and construction plans come in.
Okay, very good. Any other questions of staff by the commission?
Yes, Mary, I have a question, or a couple questions. So as it relates to the fire sprinklers, is the greenhouse, is it required to have fire sprinklers in the greenhouse as well?
That's a good question. I would have to refer to the fire marshal. I don't think he's on this call this evening, but I could find out for you.
Okay, and then the accessory buildings, the 12 feet restriction, does that do you define accessory buildings not including the greenhouse since it's 17 feet?
Well, that's why they're asking for that that exception, because it is an accessory building.
Okay, taller than 12 feet. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Any other questions of staff by the commission?
Hey, Mary, I just had one question, and I meant to look this up, but how do we define, a guest house on a property?
So it doesn't qualify, we spoke with our building official. It doesn't qualify as a residence because it doesn't have a bathroom, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen. So you can have 2 out of the 3 and not qualify as a residence. So that's, I think, where some people were getting, thinking that it was like, now you're creating like a second house on there. It doesn't, according to our building official, it doesn't qualify as that.
Okay, thank you.
But there is the 3 components just under 2 different roofs.
Exactly. They're not all in one building.
Collectively, though, it could be. Just the fact that they're separated by different structure gets around that.
So we do not consider it a separate dwelling unit.
Okay.
And Eddie, that was my concern. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you there, Freddie. Any other questions of staff by the commission?
One additional question, Mary, as it relates to the number 9, the accessory units should not be rented or leased out. If they wanted to lease out or rent the entire property versus the accessory units, would that be allowed or not?
Are you talking more like this would be a rental property for them in terms of like a long-term rental?
The main structure, not just the accessory units, but the main structure. Is there any restriction to them renting out the main structure?
Right. So I think I need to modify that last condition. The intent was more to address the short-term rental issue, like the Airbnb type of thing. That's what that intent was. It wasn't, anyone could rent out their house for like a long-term type of rental. I think the intent was that that short-term rental fear of people. And, I'll have to run that by our city attorney, make sure that how to word that, if we can do that. But my conversation with Mr. Coppell was that was not his intention, and so he was not opposed to us
Okay.
something in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, I did have one last question, I guess, regarding the roadway, a driveway that leads to their property. Is, obviously some residents brought that to our attention, but is there anything that could be done to that just to mitigate just the maintenance or the drainage issues along the roadway or driveway? Sorry.
Right. So I think if they're going to do some modifications to the driveway, we can definitely look at trying to mitigate some of that through grading or what have you. We can definitely bring it to their attention because I think they're aware, that there might be some improvements that they might want to do. Just there was nothing shown on the plans that we were looking at currently.
Okay. Any other questions of staff, at least for now? Okay. I'm going to turn it over to the applicant. I believe that might be Scott Merrick of Merrick Architects. Scott, can you hear us? We can see you, but we can't hear you.
You're on mute, Scott.
That's the mute one. All right.
All righty. So we had some questions already generated by the commission of staff, and kind of want to follow up maybe on a couple of those with you. Okay. So, we heard some of the adjacent resident comments regarding drainage, traffic, and some issues with the driveway, watershed from the driveway. But I guess with regards to all the structures, from your the way the site is being developed or enhanced for these additional accessory buildings, there's going to be no change to the grade of the lot, thereby causing any kind of watershed to the adjacent properties, correct?
The buildings that we're adding are on the north side of the property and flanked on 3 sides by creeks. So it should not affect any of the neighboring properties. We will be raising the grade of the pool house 3 feet above the floodplain line that's on the lot. But, so things will grade away from the house. But where all the problems are along the road, where starts with the S. What's the road on the east? Stratford.
Stratford.
That neighborhood, it drains down into their lot, and there's 3 low points along the long drive, and so that's probably the issue of drainage over time of all those lots. It doesn't make its way all the way in one swale to the creek. The low points are within the driveway.
So are there any plans to remedy that so that there is no shed to the property?
Not currently that we've tackled, other that we would have to do some kind of sump system in there to try to pump it out. We'd like to not have it, but right now there's just 3 low points in the middle of the road that kind of pumps up, back, and down, and then the house is up higher. So we have not gotten into that level of development on the roadway and drainage from the roadway.
Okay. If I could bring Mike Garza in, city engineer. Mike, from your perspective, you will see any adjustments or anything that needs to be addressed with regards to drainage or any kind of modification needed to prevent watershed onto the properties, the adjacent properties, correct?
That is correct. The property to the east, Stratford property, they are higher. They do drain onto this property, and so there's no runoff from this property onto the adjacent properties to the east. What it is there's just a low point on this existing property that's having trouble getting to the north to the creek, and so there's just some low spots on that property. So there is a standing water problem that's existing, and so if there is a way to get it, it would be it's a private property issue, so it's not causing runoff onto the neighboring. It's not lot-to-lot drainage. It's self-contained drainage issues.
Okay, but if there are any adjustments, you would see that through your office, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
And then I guess back to the architect, Mr. Merrick. There are there any plans to make changes to the driveway, or is that going to stay as is?
We just brought civil engineers and landscape on board, and so we're looking at that area currently. So there's some issues in the drive right now that if 2 people are coming in and out at the same time, and they need to pass by each other, you can't do it very easily. So we're probably going to need to address some of those issues in the future, and so that might entail us having to work with y'all on drainage if we have to widen the road a little bit or something like that.
But I've heard several comments regarding traffic, probably just because the thought of that this was going to be a different kind of use other than single family and use in the ancillary buildings. But any traffic opposing each other on the driveway would be from within the family, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. How wide is that driveway?
10 feet, I think, or maybe 12.
Okay. I did have a question on my screen went to sleep. I did have a question on the greenhouse. So I was looking at the materials, and on some of the accessory buildings, I see some of the footings from some of the structures there, the accessory buildings. I'm just curious, in the greenhouse, I see drilled piers, like it's going to be something very heavy, and I just found it unusual.
The greenhouse has a stone walls on the side, and it's just got a glass top. But we've gotten a soils report recently. We won't be doing any piers on this site. They'll all be
okay.
checked.
I just saw that and I thought that's pretty robust. I didn't know what was really So what is it? Other than this, what's planned for the greenhouse?
So it's just a green a skylight roof and solid walls.
Okay.
And it's not very big. I don't remember the footprint of it. But,
okay.
Not sure where we had the drawings of the piers, but then like.
Well, it was on page one of our screens there. I saw that and I thought, wow, that seems pretty robust. I just didn't know what was going to be in that thing. So, any questions by the commission of the applicant?
I was just going to comment again about that standing water issue. I realize that's not part of this proposal, but yeah, when you're talking about looking at maybe widening the drive, that would be a good opportunity to look at the standing water issues. As you know, that could be a safety issue, standing water with mosquitoes, both for the property owner and for the neighbors.
Yes. So I know we're as the property owners will want to address something about it. I don't know what the plan is right now. It's appears to be pretty challenging because there's a series of 3 low spots that happen along there. The one closest to the creek would probably be easiest for us to work out a way to drain out. The ones kind of further back down the drive may be a little more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But as a owner rep, we are addressed. So anything that goes, the owner does not want standing water on the site himself. And so there will be action taken so that we mitigate that water to come out in the proper way, not into the other properties as we get further along. So we've brought in landscape architects and civil engineers on the project to study that and to look into it. But we do not currently have anything detailed for that at the moment.
Great.
And for the record, that's Jen Moldin that chimed in there? Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the applicant by the commission? Okay. Mary, this is a public hearing. You've read the comments into record. Is there anything else from the public hearing perspective when I open this that we need to address?
I think you're on mute, Mary.
That was a test. You passed. So, yeah, the emails that I read to you were the ones from within the 200 feet. There's probably a couple additional ones that were from 800 feet or more regarding that. So it's up to you if you want me to read those into the record as well.
I think you've kind of hit the highlights of all those items.
Yes, sir. They basically, have the same. The general gist of it is the drainage, the rental, and I think there's a misconception that it was going to be, converted either into a business or subdivided into some kind of multifamily type thing.
And from your perspective, the generalization that kind of captures all the comments there, there's no need to, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is there anyone else on the line? I'm sorry, let me back up a second here. Thank you to the applicant. We may come back to you, but is there anyone else, Mary, on the line tonight that's intending to speak, maybe from the public?
Not that I'm aware of. No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
There is not.
Okay, thank you. It's our IT chiming in. Thank you very much there. Okay, so with that then, I will close the public hearing. I guess to the applicant, are you in agreement with the conditions as presented?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? I'm sorry, of the commission towards the applicant? Okay. Any discussion by the commission? I guess just from a commentary here, drainage has always been an issue along there, and I hear the concerns that have been raised, but I don't see anything that suggests there may be a negative implication here, particularly because it's going to be retained in a residential capacity without any kind of rental and strictly for private use. So I don't feel like there's any, I don't see anything yet. And with Mr. Garza and city staff that will be reviewing the final engineering plans, I'm feeling comfortable that they make, if there's an issue, they're going to catch that in the review of those plans. So I feel comfortable from that perspective. The traffic, it's simply single family residential. There is no, I don't see there being a traffic issue there. The gates, pretty gates. I guess those Knox box, if the fire, if there's an emergency, they can't get in there. They're going to push their way through those gates. So I guess beware of that. And I didn't realize it, but that makes sense that if there is an emergency issue and they need to get back there with heavy apparatus, that there could be an impact to that driveway. So probably good to call that out. Any other comments by the commission or any other discussion? Okay. Is there a motion by the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move that the proposal number 10 on the docket, which is PD-184RZ-SF-ED 748 DeForest Road, be approved as submitted, with the change that item 9 shall be changed to read, the accessory units shall not be rented or leased out separately from the main single family residence.
Okay. Thank you much. We have a motion by Commissioner Portman. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second, Commissioner Marr. Before we make the vote here, Mary, I don't recall, did I close that public hearing? I think I closed it. I see people nodding yes. Okay, good. Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Portman with an amendment to item number 9. We have a second by Commissioner Moore. Amy, would you read the roll, please?
Please respond by saying aye or nay when I call your name.
Speaks.
Rolling Coppell.
Wow. Okay. Fire away, Kami.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please respond by saying aye or nay when I call your name. Chairman Haas.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Portman.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Maurer.
Aye.
Commissioner Guerra.
Aye.
Commissioner Bishop.
Aye.
Commissioner Blankenship.
Aye.
All approved, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much to the applicants for the submittal. Thank you very much to our residents who submitted letters of concern on the application. It's all very much appreciated as we deliberate this individual application. Okay, moving on to the next item. Item number 11 on the agenda is the update on city council action. Mary, will you be covering that?
So we did not have any items on this last city council agenda.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you very much. I guess prior to adjournment, I'd just like to acknowledge one last time, welcome aboard Commissioner Bishop to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Good work. I look forward to working with you over the next term. Item then 12 is adjournment. The time is 8:18, and I will adjourn this meeting.